Hello, welcome back to EZG Audio. I have my Tower of Tanchjim up today because we have a Tanchjim review to do. I'm going to be taking a look at the Tanchjim Nora today, and I have these guys lined up because we can take a bit of a comparison to the rest of the Tanchjim products I happen to have lying around. The Nora is a single dynamic driver set utilizing the same DMT5 technology that the Fission and the Origin use. So it has a very similar sound, but there are some key differences, and we're going to talk about them today. Guys, thank you for joining me back here at EZG Audio. We're going to open this guy up and take a look at what's inside right now. Let's do it. Nora. So I've already had a listen. We're going to take a look at the unboxing experience. And fun fact, if you put an anime character on your IEM packaging, that actually increases sales by about 200%. For those that don't know. Let's take a look inside. Inside the envelope we have a couple of pair of ear tips. One wide bore, one narrow bore. We have our Tanch pouch. Paperwork. Boring. We have the Nora. I really like the build and the design on the Nora. It's kind of a glass faceplate with a stainless steel framing and a resin build. Quite pretty, quite striking. I like. Put that on the pouch. We have, interestingly, a cable that's very similar to the one that comes on the Tanchjim Origin, which is about more than double the price, but it has an upgrade to it with the modular cable. So we got 4.4 as well as the 3.5 that is on there right now. And that's what's in the box, guys. It's not, a overwhelmingly generous unboxing experience, but considering that we're getting this for $110 and we're using the same driver that's inside the much more expensive Tanchjim Origin, it's a fair compromise, I would say. Okay, let's get to the spinny plate and we could start talking about how it sounds. I really like the Tanchjim house sound. It's neutral, but it's not boring studio headphone reference neutral. There's enough of an accentuation of the mid bass to keep the sound exciting to my ear. The Tanchjim Nora just takes that and tweaks it slightly by smoothing out the highest frequencies. 10K and above is a bit deadened compared to the Origin or the Fission. That gives you a smoother presentation and a more comfortable presentation if you are sensitive to those highest frequencies. So the Nora definitely has a unique and valuable place in the Tanchjim lineup. It's not the same old, while kind of still being the same old, but when you put it in a $110 package, it becomes pretty interesting. Bass on the Nora has a quick, clean characteristic to it. The mid bass is slightly accentuated, and it's enough to provide us with a little bit of extra texture, a little bit of extra slam, but it's not enough to introduce any distortion. It doesn't bleed into the mid-range or sound unbalanced in any way. Just enough to give us a little bit of extra excitement without detracting from the rest of the sound frequency spectrum. The sub bass provides kind of a low dynamic rumble for the mid bass to kick into, and I feel that it's very well textured and very well controlled. The sub bass doesn't unduly color any of the other frequencies. Overall, I would say the low end is very well done on the Nora, and it really does play well with the rest of the sound. I tend to gravitate towards a warm neutral sound because I hate when the vocal presentation lags behind the bass and the treble. And yeah, that's not an issue here with the Nora. The Nora has a very clear and detailed mid-range that never overstays its welcome, but never gets lost in the mix either. Like I said before, all the frequencies are pretty well represented here in the Tanchjim house sound, but I would say that the star of the show is definitely the mid-range because my priority when I'm listening for an IEM is to have those clear vocals that impart the kind of emotionality that I like in my music. Most of my music is, very lyric driven. So if I can't hear the singer, I'm not getting the full impact of what I'm hearing. Woodwind instruments sound really good on the Nora. They sound haunting and they don't have any undue coloration from the sub bass. Same thing from the stringed instruments. Really just a well done mid range that is realistic and natural and clear. The treble is the greatest departure that the Nora takes from the Tanchjim house sound, and it's a pretty minor one overall, but depending on what your preferences are. The 10 to 20 kilohertz region has a little bit less energy compared to the Fission or the Origin, so it makes for a bit more of a smoother listening experience overall, which might be more comfortable depending on what your preferences are. The Nora could be a good pick for you if you have a sensitivity to that region. Overall, I would say that the treble is incisive and it's well controlled. It has very good note weight for the price range, and I would say that it is well extended. It has that clear and present ring despite the more subdued higher frequencies. Overall, I like the treble too. I'm pretty big on the Nora overall. Alright, what's next? Alrighty, let's round things out with some techs. The Nora is using the same DMT5 single dynamic driver that Tanchjim uses in the Origin, which is more than double the price retail. So I think it's kind of cool that they're using that driver in a set at $110. Technical capability on that DMT5 driver is excellent. We have an excellent transient response time that handles busy tracks very well, precise imaging on a spacious soundstage. I feel that the Nora has a slightly smaller soundstage than, say, the Origin, which is a bit more spacious, has a bit more depth, and slightly more precise imaging. But for $110 to get you about 90% of the way to the Origin, I think is a pretty good value proposition if you're looking for this kind of neutral sound signature. Another option would be our Tanchjim Fission. And yeah, I figured I would just show off the Tanchjim sets if you're deciding between any of these. The Fission actually has a little switch on the back so that you can change up the sound signature. I find I only really like the Tanchjim house sound setting because all the other ones cut bass, so there's one real usable sound signature on that one for me. But if you are interested, I would say that the soundstage is a bit more cramped than it is on the Nora, and as I was talking about before, you have that added energy in the 10 to 20 kilohertz region that might make it a little bit less comfortable for some than the Nora is. I would say that the Nora is a safer choice, comes in at $20 cheaper, and it's probably my favorite between these two. I also really like the Origin. I would say that that's number one, that's number two, and that's number three. Despite the fact that they all sound really, really similar. All right, let's finish this up. That's it. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the review. I'm going to leave a non-affiliate link down in the description below to the Nora. Thank you to Tanchjim for sending over the review copy. And if you guys have any interest in these other Tanchjim products like the Force or the Bunny or the Zero Ultima that I didn't get to, leave me a comment and I'll get back to you down there. Thanks again, guys. Take it easy.